Before I venture into this chapter on English and language, I want to share with you my own relationship with languages. The reason I am writing this particular section is to add a human touch to otherwise dry subjects like language. Every book about English and language is very formal and well structured. They follow a certain formula. Also, these books are based on the assumption that basic skills must be learned and mastered, and then more advanced skills can be added on top of them. This is highly consistent with what we have been calling the skill brain quadrant. However, this book is in no way such a book about either basic English or advanced English. No, in this chapter, all I wanted was to provide a dimension about learning languages that most likely has gone unnoticed in the world of academia. Who has the time to sit down with hundreds of students and encourage them to open up and divulge the secrets that they have been hiding so vehemently? This is what my job as a counselor required me to do, and I never judged any of my students. So they opened up, and I learned so many aspects of language learning that I myself was never aware of. I am surprised at every new counseling sessions because the problem faced by each student with regards to language is always a bit different than any other students. So in this chapter, I have presented the process of learning and teaching English and languages in a way that is not basic and is not advanced, but it has a same time it is super advanced and super detailed. There is no literature on which I am basing this chapter on. My findings are purely from the spontaneous creative counseling that I provided to the students in order to help them solve their particular language problems. The way I know that the advices I gave were really good is the immediate feedback I get from them. As I explained to you earlier on how the sparks and the electricity in the brain creates neural pathways leading to learning in the earlier chapter. In my counseling sessions, I see that explosions of neurons and spark in the eyes of the students. This is how I validate my teachings. Of course, it's not very scientific. The difficulty in the function of counseling is that you have to give the students the freedom not to have to follow up after the session. The learning is for them. Some of the students come back and report the benefit. However, most of them get lost in the crowd of the thousands of students. This is the way it should be. So, to my demerit, I must say that I have no empirical basis for the validity of my teachings here. However, they make logical sense, and it feels so right that you will experience as you read on. Eventually, as I've been telling you throughout the book, somebody, some institution will do a scientific study on the postulates that I have come up with. That might be next year or after I am dead, many decades from now. Pathos, logos, and ethos are the three main ways we use to influence people. The first two will be covered below, and that should be the main proportion of this chapter. That is the logical rigidity of my postulate and the emotional appeal of its correctness. Now remains the ethos or the credibility components. This is what I'm trying to achieve through this section. Make myself believable, acceptable, and credible in your eyes to be talking about this very important subject of language. My journey into language has been very interesting and diverse. I was born in Nepal. My first language is a dialect of Nepal called Newari language. So, this is the language that I first learned to listen to and to talk in. That was common practice back then in the 70s. Then I went to nursery school and I learned a bit of Nepali, which is the official language of Nepal. However, because of my father's posting in France, I too had to move to Paris. There, at the age of 5, I learned to read in French and listen as well as talk in this new language. Over the years, I was able to talk fluently and understand French language. I was getting better in writing. I studied in an international school. This means that we were taught English twice a week for an hour. I don't remember being able to talk in English because there was nobody to talk, but I do remember being able to read and write in English. My language skills in French kept growing. I could read short novels by grade 4, and I understood. I could make summaries. I could read between the lines. I could make inferences and deductions from what I read. But it all occurred in the French language. When I reached class 6, we were supposed to be able to take dictations and make almost zero errors. I mastered hearing and taking notes very quickly. Somehow the neurons in my brain exploded together very fast. The way the syllabus was designed and the teachers taught me worked perfectly for me in that international school in Paris. Then my father had to come back to Nepal when I was in class 7. The problem was I did not know anything in Nepali. I knew how to listen and talk in the local dialect called Newari, but I did not know how to read and write in that language of Newari. Being 12 years old, I did not know even how to ask for water when I was thirsty. So I have this experience which is very fresh in my mind on how the learning of language occurs. For me, it started in class 7. I could not listen and understand. I could not talk and be understood. I did not know how to read a single sentence on a page. My writing was full of mistakes. I scored 0 in my first Nepali test. I created my own syllabus with the help of my late grandfather. I just knew what kind of help I could get from whom. I devoured dictionaries. I started learning, of course, from the alphabet, like I was in a nursery school. But because my motivation was so strong that I had to learn the language, or there was no other way out, I learned very fast and I promoted myself very fast from word to understanding sentences, making sense of paragraphs, chapters, and even books. I read extensively anything that I could get hold of on. It could be newspapers, storybooks, besides all the textbooks. I did my homeworks 3 times and got them checked by the teachers. I always sought immediate feedback. I learned the best ways to express my ideas, thoughts, and feelings. Again, I always knew which teacher to get feedback from. I always volunteered to engage tutors on a one-to-one basis during my holidays. All this expanded the neurons for language skills in my brain to such an extent that after 4 years, I got 65 out of 100 in my school living certificate, or what we called SLC. Not bad for a kid who did not know even how to say, I am thirsty and I need water 4 years back, right? I use the same approach to improve on my English skills. As I told you earlier, I was not good in English also because in France it's only the second language. So this continuous process of reading, writing, listening, and talking, then getting feedback from teachers, experimenting, re-evaluating, enable me to master the English language also. So this is my story of learning languages. I hope I established a strong base of credibility